Good morning. Let's talk about time management, because I think that's one of the areas that I've struggled with the most, stepping into motherhood, because you have to figure out how to divide time and helping your baby, which at first, right, when they're a newborn baby, they need so much love, so much attention, that you pour yourself completely into that. And it's so easy to put yourself on the back burner. But after a while, it is important that we figure out how to best manage our time. So we're not only pouring into our kids, but pouring into ourselves as well. Because you guys, we can't be empty. Like, we gotta be full. We gotta do it for our kids. We gotta do it for us, because we're important, right? Like, I'm in my 30s, you know? I'm not dead. I'm in my 30s, right? Like, the reason I work out is because I started noticing my body started to go, you know, I'm crackling, I'm going. I'm like, no, my body's important. I want to be an active mom now. I want to be an active grandma later, you know? Like, this is just the beginning, right? So how can we figure out how to manage our time better? I'm currently learning, right? Here, hawk out my window. I'm currently learning, right? So let's learn together. And it's funny because it started with me teaching my daughter, right? And through the show with Paisley's Corner, where I wanted kids to learn, hey, we need to try again. It's important to try and try again. That's the only way to learn. And so as I started teaching it, I started repeating it. And as I started repeating it, my own habit learned, my own verbal habit. And now I'm like, yeah, we should try again. It's so important to learn. It's so important to try again. So let's learn time management together. And that's going to take practice and failure. Something, we might get a snowstorm. It says in a couple of days, we're going to be covered in snow. It says about 6 inches, so it's icy. It's going to be icy. But I have a snowboard in my garage, and so when we were talking about snowboarding, I was talking to Pepe, and I was like, hey, one of the first things you need to learn about snowboarding is once you buckle in, you need to learn how to fall, because you're going to fall a lot. And that's okay. You're supposed to. Right? There's no other way of getting around it. You're not just going to get on a board and you're going to go sliding. It's not going to happen. You're going to fall. And so one of the best way to practice is, like, as soon as you strap in, fall on your butt over and over and over and over again. So it becomes almost fun, right? You're not scared of falling. It's like, hey, this is part of it. And I know a lot of action athletes do this as well, where it's like, hey, you know, if they're riding bikes or whatever, they have their pads, right? They're starting out because they need to know, hey, if the trick's about to fall, I need to be able to land on my knees, right? Their safety, their body health is so important, because you want to keep your body as healthy as ever, because you're working on something bigger. So for snowboarding, hey, you need to learn how to fall in the snow, because it's going to hurt, right? First time it's so surprising. It's like, what's going on? But we have to do it. And so same with time management, same with anything, right? For me personally, I really need to learn that if I fail the first time, it's really okay, because this is my chance to analyze and say, hey, let me try again. What didn't work? What if I change this around? I think it's so similar with time management, right? Currently, I'm trying this 4 a.m. and it's working really well. Today, I woke up at 6 to kind of have the rest day, but that might change, and I need to give myself grace for it, because I often get into a place where I'm like, well, I started this habit. It started with the workout, because I was like, hey, I want to really get into working out. I don't have time. I haven't made time currently to go to the gym. I'm trying to learn to stop saying I don't have time, because I do have all of the time. It just depends what I carve time for. And so, or if I'm making time for something. So I haven't made time to go to the gym. I keep my weights downstairs. And anytime the kids are just like, if they're eating, if they're watching and something's going on, I just do my weights to get stronger. And before I was trying to do it, you know, when I wasn't needed, but now I've started making it a point of like, hey, no, I'm getting stronger. Mommy needs to get stronger, because I love holding my kids. And you want a strong mommy. I want to be able to run with you. I want to be able to pick you up. I want to carry you. I want to have a strong back. And so it turned into when I do my workouts, it's a respected time. But I do it with them, you know, I can set my weights down, and so it's simple. But carving out time and seeing what works and what doesn't is so important. Oh, what I was saying with the workout is, I used to get really down on myself, right? Because at first I set this goal and I was like, hey, I'm gonna do 30 like tricep extensions, right? And then there would be a day it didn't happen, and I'd be so down on myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're such a failure. Like, this sucks so much. Why can't you just take 30s? It literally takes about a minute, 1 minute to do them. And so I'm like, oh, you couldn't even do it. And then I was like, wait, that's not the right way to look at it, right? Essentially, I would be doing 0 of them to begin with. The fact that I do get to do, maybe one day it's 16, maybe another day I do 50, right? Do 10 here, 10 here, 10 here. I love having my weights down because I can just grab them, do 10, go on with my day. If like the water's boiling for the pasta, and quickly grab them, do 10, go on with my life. And so sometimes in a day I fit 10, sometimes I fit 100. But instead of telling myself, oh, I didn't meet that original goal of 30 that I wanted to, I'm like, hey, it could have been 0, today I got 10. My body is 10 tricep reps stronger than it was before. So instead of getting down on myself, I need to appreciate my body and myself, saying, hey, this is how my body felt today, this is where I was at, and that's okay. If I did less of the workout, I must have been pouring myself into something else, which is usually our kids. And if you pour yourself all the way into your kids every single day, you're doing it. You're doing it all, right? Our kids are so important. They're learning how to be a human from us. And so when we pour our time into kids, it's so important. Anyways, I watched this, Alex Hormozi. He runs a lot of businesses. If you're looking for business management or business advice overall, he's a great one to listen to. And I think his wife has a podcast as well. Anyway, so I brought my blocks. You know how I love to explain things. I don't know why, this just makes sense to me this way. Anyway, so Alex Hormozi was talking about time management within a company, right? So we're going to take that and see how it applies to motherhood. And he was talking about how, let's split it up into 2 types of working people. There's going to be the makers and there's going to be the managers. And for simplistic times, essentially, it's like your managers are like the salespeople, right? They can have a sales call every 15 minutes, right? They can schedule sales call at 9, 9:30, 10, maybe another one at 11, 12. Then they have another one at 2, right? So they have let's say these are product of output, right? This is what they're creating. So each one is fine. And when something gets canceled, right? It's like, oh, this one went away. They still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 calls that they made today. Let's say they closed them all down. They closed 7 deals. They completed 7 projects, right? Now, makers, this is the person that I am. And it took me a long time, not a lot, but it did take me a long time to figure out, but this video really helped me understand why I struggle so much when one thing changes during my day. But a maker is somebody who works in longer hours, and let's say that's project oriented, right? So somebody who's creative, something that takes a long time, like painting a picture, right? If you're creating art, if you're filming a video, if you're working on a product, if you're sewing, knitting, if whatever your hobby is, that doesn't take 15 minutes. That takes, let's say, 4 hours, right? Let's say 4 hours just for this. So essentially, throughout your day, you only have the opportunity to get 2 products of outputs out, which is going to be very different than what the manager is able to do, right? So this is our manager, this is our maker. For me, I always try to schedule like the manager. And so when one thing falls, I feel like each one of these gets tumbled and out of control, and this is late, and this is late, and I give myself more anxiety where it doesn't need to be. Anyway, so what he talks about is how to increase your productivity and communication within your business is to figure out, okay, so who are your managers, the salespeople who can do quick things, right? Making those calls, sending those emails, taking care of administrative stuff, if you will, right? And who are your makers who are working on a specific project? And the communication that needs to happen is that the day looks so different for each one of these people, right? Because again, if the manager cancels a call, they still have so much more, and it's totally fine. If something happens where one thing gets canceled, the entire project has to be put on stop. So now instead of having 2, you're down to 1. You're down 50% of your own productivity just because, if somebody says, hey, you need to schedule a call right here, you can't fit a call, right? These are the projects that you need to be put in. They need to be undisturbed, right? You need to have full attention to focus on this. So if somebody says, hey, you need to get on a call at 4, let's say this is your morning block, this is your afternoon block, right? And then you schedule a call, this whole thing goes away. And I've noticed that because in my own thing, right, let's say I have, hey, my morning day, my afternoon day. And then if I get an appointment at 3 o'clock, it's like, first of all, I'm waiting the whole time because my anxiety. Then I also can't even get started on this project because I'll get interrupted. So now I'm down to an entire day right? And so it's important for managers to have a communication with the makers, and makers need to set their boundaries and say, you know what? Hey, manager person, I understand that for you, a 15-minute call here and there doesn't matter, because if this is here, or this is here, or this is here, it really doesn't change too many things, right? You're still getting your day completed. And if one changes, that's all right. But for a maker, and I think this is where the motherhood comes in, right? Because I think we have specific projects, our morning shift, our afternoon shifts. And when things get interrupted or aren't scheduled correctly, right? This is where I have a hard time, where I'm like, oh, if I want to edit a video, do I start half of it? Then we do, like as his first nap is coming up, it's like, hey, I have to interrupt it to do it, then it all goes away. So then I have to decide, oh, do I start it before this nap time, right? Or maybe if your kids are going to school, it's like, hey, what can you do before the school drop off, after the school drop off, right? How much time do you have here to fit things in? And that's the difficult part. Or if you're doing your things, right, these are your blocks, and let's say you have to make a doctor's appointment. Boom, you now fitted a phone call in, this project is out. It moves your entire thing, right? If you're just trying to, let's finish laundry, right? It's like, I gotta get it all done, but then it gets interrupted, it almost goes away. And so what Hormozi talked about is having the conversation, right? The communication of makers saying, hey, I understand that for you, 15-minute is nothing, whether it gets changed or not. For me, it's absolutely everything, right? Because let's say you're working on a project that's all day long, one thing can completely get rid of it. So your whole day, right? If you're looking for productivity, and at this we're looking at, output, right? This is their product of work, each one. And so having communication and conversation saying, hey, these are my boundaries. I can't be disturbed between this hour and this hour, right? Because I really need to focus. And I started using this with my kids, where I'm like, hey, their dad's watching them right now. And so I said, hey, I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna do my work. And I explained, it's important for mommy to work. This is how we make our money, when I'm up and editing and stuff. And so it's like, hey, it's important for mommy to go to work. I want to make sure I stay in and focus, because I really want to give this time and attention that it deserves. And then I use the same thing when we play, right? So, because as he's learning so much right now, he's like building, and everything takes time, and he's so patient and careful. And of course, Paisley, she's so sweet. She always wants to help, and she wants to jump in. And so I say, hey, we need to give him time to focus. This is his work. Kids' work right now is to play. And we use it with Pepe. She's starting to draw and write, and she's such a little science girl. We got like a hydraulics kit, and so she's so about like how things move and cause and effect. And I think cause and effect is such a big discovery point for babies and toddlers and kids, right? Like, why did this happen? Why did that happen? As adults, we're so used to things that it makes sense to us. Like if somebody splashes us, of course we know things are gonna get wet, right? Because we've had the experience, we've learned from it. But kids, it all takes time, and they're learning why anything, right? For babies, we know it's water, but for a baby, they're like, what is this substance that makes things feel different, makes a loud sound, kind of goes down a hole? Sometimes you can turn it on and off, right? Like that doesn't even make sense. And even with animals, sometimes I think about it like, we're so used to like, oh, it's an octopus. It has a head, has 8 tentacles. Like that's just it. Like if I've never seen an octopus, never heard, that would be like an alien creature if somebody showed that to me, right? Like, and how do deer have antlers and then they just shed them? I just learned that the antler material, like the substance that they're made from, can potentially grow up to 1 inch per day. That's, I think, the fastest tissue growing, right? And it's so hard. And then they just shed it off yearly, and then they do it again. But we're talking about animals who just grow horns, have tentacles. These are like alien-like creatures, if you will, but we're so used to them, right? But for a baby, that everything is new. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. And so it's important that they have that time to learn, to figure it out, to drop a toy over and over again, to do things. But back to the time management, I think motherhood is full of maker-like work blocks or scheduling, right? And then so this is where it gets into figuring out what works best for you, right? So for me, I'm currently trying, hey, I wake up at 4 a.m., my 4 to 6, I have my work block. Then it's like morning, wake up time, playtime, naps, and I kind of start, I guess, this day, right? Maybe for somebody it's, hey, I do my administrative stuff in the morning. So it's like, hey, schedule all your calls, all your things early in the morning when the office is open, right? And then you start your motherhood, right? This is my mom block. Here I make sure I get everything done. Here, hey, I'm here to help you. I like to essentially in my head play, if you've ever been a server at a restaurant, right? If you play that in your head where your kids are happy customers, but sometimes if they're emotional customers, you just need to put the fire out. Like, hey, sorry this happened, here's what we can do about it, right? That could be an approach that I find helpful. But let's figure out what works best for you. And if you are, somebody, hey, I have all these meetings, I have all these calls, or hey, I want to spend 20 minutes on my work, whatever it is, figuring out, does your day need to look like this for you to get things accomplished? Do you schedule a Monday like this, where it's like, hey, on Monday, I just knock these things out of the park. I send all my emails, I get it all done, and then I spend the rest of the days working on these projects, which could be, your motherhood time or whatever it is, right? Or does it work better for you? Hey, in the morning, I wake up, I get these 2 things done for myself. Then it's my, creativity, mom block, and fit it in the end, right? Do your work blocks look different? Are they a little shorter? Can you fit 2 in with things in the middle that kind of interchange, right? So it's like, this can often work. Hey, in the morning we do morning stuff, in the afternoon we do afternoon stuff. Here's an activity, right? We do an activity, or do we go to the park, or do we go here? So when it interchanges, right, it doesn't ruin the rest of your day, because things shouldn't ruin your day. Your day is important, you're important, your time's important. But for me, I struggle so much because I'll plan out this whole day in my head, often won't tell anyone about it, which is something I'm working on. It's like, how is anyone expected to know what's in my head if I don't express it, right? But for me, it's like if one thing goes out, it seems like everything else starts like tumbling. It's like, well, now this is, no. And I get down on myself. And so I'm like, no, I shouldn't even do it. But I'm working on that. I'm working on being better and not listening to the negative things. Because you guys, I'm so sensitive. I'm so thankful for for you guys commenting and I don't know, being here just feels, I think for me, feels really wholesome and filling because I haven't had that community, and so it's so cool because I'm really just trying and learning and practicing to be there, to be present, to really show up. But I am getting some comments as well. It's like, hey, you're doing too much, you're an overachiever, and I totally get that as well. And so I get down on myself and I'm like, wow, maybe I shouldn't even get up and post, and I'm having those conversations. But I'm like, these are just the things that I am doing in my home that make my day flow and things that work for me. I think when I don't plan or have anything to do, I get even more tired because I'm almost waiting for the day to end, but it hasn't. It has more like eight more hours, and I'm like, the waiting of doing nothing I think tires me out. And so I like doing the activities. I think they're fun. It's like, when you're like, hey, if we're gonna go to the playground, it probably is gonna take about an hour or 2. It's like, get there, play, get in the car, it's like, I feel the same way about activities, and sometimes they're short, sometimes it's long. We're so into pretend play right now, which that's another thing I wanted to talk about. We use pretend play 100% of the day almost. And I know not everybody loves pretend play, but I think there's a way to do it where it makes it fun and easy, and in a sense, we just apply the characters to what we're doing, which I think in turn encourages good behavior. So if you've played Mario or Zelda or watch a specific show, you know how kids like to act certain characters. So when we are playing Mario and Peach, I'm like, hey, Mario needs to make sure he gets his energy and his hearts up, so let's eat lunch. Peach loves to eat, right? So you use the things you're going to do anyways, but you apply them to the characters. So when we're playing Zelda and Fairy, we're playing Link. Paisley loves to play the healer. She just loves to heal and rescue and save, and she's so sweet. And so when we play Link and Fairy, Link falls down, I fall down to the ground, she likes to rescue me and stuff. But what's important about pretend play is knowing that the way you do it first time is probably how they're gonna wanna replay it 100 more times. So you need to make right decisions off the bat. So where's gonna be your home, right? I always choose my bed. So if I'm the great fairy, hey, this is my fairy cave. Hey, when I was Mario, I'm like, hey, this is my Odyssey. choose your couch, right? Because that's going to be your home base. It's like, hey, I got to be in here and I got to rest. This is where I got to go to travel. And then start the play where it's like, hey, you found me. That way you're not getting up to go there. They're getting to come to you. When we were playing Mario and Moon Mario, I just posted like Post-it notes around the house. Those were the moons we had to collect. And then I stay and I wait till she brings them back, right? She loves playing those. Your kids would love, because you're playing within their language, right? Things they love, things they're doing. But you get to relax. Same in the kitchen where I'm like, hey, like in this other game, Link cooks a lot of recipes. So I'm like, I gotta go cook a recipe, I gotta get all the things. And so you're doing the same things you would be doing. You're just doing it within those characters. When we watched Little Einsteins for a bit, super great show if you guys do have Disney Plus. Lots of things kids can learn in there. There's Annie and June, so Paisley and I were Annie and June for a bit, and it's like they drive in a rocket, so the car became rocket. We're like, hey, let's get in a rocket, right? We gotta go fly off to the thing. And so whatever they're into, you just apply it and speak in those terms, but you continue living your life. And so it makes it fun for them. It makes it more peaceful for me, and I think it concretes those really important things, right? It's like, hey, well, Princess Peach needs to make sure she lays down and rests. Hey, of course, Princess Peach. Oh, great fairy, we gotta make sure we eat our protein and our vitamins so you have lots of magic to explore, right? And so in their heads, they believe, hey, now, through this time, in the 4 years, so many characters, they eat their breakfast. They always wash their hands. They get in the car. They are patient. Through these characters, they get to see these characteristics be seen again and again and again. And as they're acting them out, they're practicing it again and again and again. So if you think about what's the intention, right? If your intention is just to get your kid to eat something, we like to do pasta. We call it deconstructed pasta. Pasta's cooked, red sauce on the side. Kids love to dip. And so you dip and eat. But for that, it's like, hey, let's have your, sometimes you do puppy play, right? And so it's like, hey, let's have your puppy kibble. Let's have your whatever. And so you take the thing, you apply it to, and so pretend play is for me, makes my day so peaceful, right? It's just like, and then you can jump in like, hey, do a little bit of play. Okay, now I gotta go back to do the thing. I can't wait to come back and play with you. I can't wait to come back and play with you. And I think it makes it fun for everybody, because your kid's gonna wanna do pretend play. And if I ever dread it, and I'm waiting for it to end, my attitude is sour. It isn't fun for anybody. But when I try to get into it and really have fun with it and see how I can apply it to different things, right now we're speaking about how people can be friendly and unfriendly, how there's tricky people. And the hard part about it is, how do you recognize a tricky person? Because the things they're gonna tell you will sound good. So how do you tell? And that's tough. And so right now we're going through our toys, play certain characters, and we're like, oh, did they say this? Did they say that? And so it's playing, but also, hey, we're having an important conversation about how to differentiate between behavior and intention, right? The reason, why is somebody doing this? Because we're studying the Bible, there's the story of baby Jesus, right? And so when the census started, and they're like, hey, census sounds like a really good idea for that time. Like, we just want to count the people. And but in reality, they were trying to find all the baby boys so they could take them, and so we've talked about how it's like, hey, what about that idea? And it was kind of tricky because they said, hey, we're just going to count the people. Everybody go back to your hometown. And so they had to travel. And so it was said, hey, it's a good idea, but what the king at the time was trying to do was actually find all the baby boys, because he didn't want the idea of, a son of God to be born, of course. And so, isn't it interesting how they took an idea, told like a really good idea, but what it had really bad intentions. That they were trying to find out the location. So we talked about that, and that just kind of blew my daughter's mind. She's like, wow. Right? And so using stories that you're working on, playing, seeing, I try to do this a lot with the show, right? Where I create a story with the toys. And so we can take the conversation a little bit further, right? Because through toys, you can literally learn anything, whether you stage the things, kids believe everything, right? They believe if you do Santa, they believe in Santa. If you say mermaids are real, they're going to believe you mermaids are real. And it's important because they think everything you tell them is real. They really do. And what I'm working on is unlearning some things that I thought were real that were told to me when I was little. And so that has turned me into a place where I want to make sure I say only positive things and kind and encouraging things, because if we say things that are unkind about our kids or others, let's say, around them, they're going to take that as the truth. To you, it might mean, oh, I'm just kind of throwing this word away. I'm so used to saying that, but to kids, things mean 100%, and they believe them. And it's important that what we tell them to believe is that, hey, you can do hard things, try and try again. Personally, for me, it's because I'm now taking all this time to unlearn the negative voices in my head and, push myself to keep going. And it's taking so much like mental work and deep work where I'm like, oh my gosh, I speak so negatively to myself, and I really want to stop that, but and sometimes I'll hear the echoing of things that were told to me, and so I've believed it and said it to myself. And it's so hard to unlearn it, right? Because it's become a habit. After I learned somebody saying it to me, I would say it to myself. When we say something so many times, we believe it. And so I'm like, how can I save my daughter? I'm 33. How can I save my daughter 33 years of not trying to unlearn other things? Because, I wonder, right? We're raising this beautiful generation of kids who are going to be confident and self-aware and set boundaries, and that's going to look so beautiful, right? But I wonder, if so many in this generation had to go through so much. Granted, again, like our parents' generation didn't even have the internet, right? Like I look up things every day to like figure things out. And they didn't even have that ability, right? It's like first they didn't even have phones or the internet or who was right. The only people they could really get information from was their parents and however their parents did things, right? And so we're all learning, right? But how can we save our kids sometimes so they don't have to unlearn these things when they're older? Because right now, I think if kids, the first 5 years, right, they kind of learn morals, values, what's really important. They're observing all the time. As these 10 months, we've been working on in. So every time I put something in, and then because we're working diaper, dirty, clean, and trash. And so we've started doing dirty, diaper, trash, and then in, I let him throw it in. And he sees it, and then yesterday he brought his diaper, it was a clean one though, and he tried to put it in the trash, and I was like, oh, good job, bud. Like he sees diaper, he sees us putting it in, he's like, this is what we do, I'm gonna do it too. It was a clean diaper, so I took it back. I said, hey, good job, you did the right thing. But diapers are expensive, things are expensive, so I was like, that's still a clean diaper. But they watch you all the time because they're trying to figure out what to do. And I think, I think in a sense, it's like our kids admire us so much, where I always think of like, hey, how does my mommy take what looked like this, put it in the oven, and now it looks like this, right? It's like, we're just cooking, we're so used to it, but to them, it's like, how did you make that happen? How is it when you're pouring, you know when to stop pouring? How do you know how to wipe? How do you know how to draw? You know all these things, and it seems so effortless to you, and kids admire us. And I think when we look up to somebody who we admire, we tend to copy them, right? Which I think we now often see in the influencer culture, where it's like, the tapping, right? I don't know who started the tapping on the things, but then everybody's doing it, right? It's like you gotta tap on the thing. And it's funny, due to the shortcuts and stuff, which I kind of do for the adult videos, when I edit my reels, I started seeing like influencers putting the makeup on really fast. And I was doing my makeup and I was doing it really fast. And I was like, why am I hitting my face? What am I doing? And so then I was like, wait, that's not even, but we start copying things we see and we do it all the time. And I think we copy things that we like, that we admire even faster. And so our kids admire us so much. When your baby's hanging on to you and you're like, oh my gosh, what do what's going, it's like 9th hour and and literally for babies, they're just like, I just want to be next to you. You're my best friend. I love you. It's like, hey, my baby just wants to sit on me. Yes, they do. They just want to be with you. They don't want anything else from you. They don't want anything else from you except for you to be you. Even if they're crying and having a hard time, it's not like they're saying, hey, you're doing this thing and na. Like they're just saying, like, hey, mommy, hey, daddy, like, can you just hold me? I'm having a really hard time. And our job is just to be there with them through it. Say, hey, you know what? This is tough. Something I'm trying to learn for myself, and kind of, anything I'm learning, I'm doing it with my daughter. And so we're learning about how some things are hard. And that's the truth. A lot of things are hard, and hard things take time, and hard things take falling and trying again, or they wouldn't be hard, right? But everything is hard until you figure out how to do it, right? As he's just starting to take his first steps. He's so sweet. He's running so fast, which is wild, you know? Him getting up on his feet at 10 months is bananas. It's bananas. Paisley didn't start walking until after her first birth. You know, there's so much difference in them. It's bananas. It's so wild and wonderful to watch. But he's starting to walk. Oh gosh, what was I saying? They learn different things. They really admire us. Oh, I also think, because he admires, like Ezzy right now admires Paisley so much. Like they run around, he's always like, how do you know what to do with all the toys? Like what, you know, and so he watches her climb, then he'll go and climb, right? He sees how she sits in a chair and he just kind of sits next to her. And that's the thing with babies, they just want to be with their loved ones. It's like, if you've ever gone to a party where you don't know anybody and you just go with like your friend, right? When you get in, you just want to stand next to them, right? You're like, okay, so what's going on? Let me analyze the situation. Who are these people? It's a little like overwhelming. And then maybe you warm up, maybe you start walking around, or maybe you spend the entire time just standing next to your friend, just kind of like, hey, just be by me because I don't want to be here. Like, I don't know what's going on. That's our babies. They're at this party that they, you know, didn't even know they were invited to. And so they're here. There's so much going on, and it seems like everybody knows what to do. And that would make me feel a little left out, right? If you go somewhere, everybody knows what to do and you don't know what's going on, it seems so foreign that it's overwhelming. And so babies just come into this life and things are already happening. They're just like, I just want to sit on my mom or my dad, you know, like I just want to feel safe because let's just hang out, we're best friends. But I love that about babies. I love that about kids. Okay, my blocks are here. I had a couple of more things that I was thinking about, but I am working on the time management schedule because I'm trying the 4 a.m. and it's kind of working really well because it's like I'm still tired at the end of the day, and sometimes I'm like, I'm too tired, I don't know if I can do it. And I'm like, what if you just try one more day? Because at the end I feel so good, right? Getting so much accomplished and moving forward in my goals, not just serving my kids that I love, but also serving myself. You know, I'm also, sometimes I think of like, oh, you know, in the religious way of, oh, okay, I'm a mother. My job is to serve my kids, right? It's my job as a mom. My job for God is to guide them, help them. But then in a way, I'm like, hey, I'm also a daughter of God, and no one's taking care of me. I need to do this for myself because I'm a grown up. We should be doing it for ourselves. And so it's important to take care of our kids and take care of ourselves. So that's what I'm working on. And again, it's like to the thing where I make a schedule, and then if it changes, and then I'm like, what's going on? Similarly, I want to be gracious with myself to say, hey, you know, 4 a.m. is working. If things change, because they often do, that's okay. Let's adapt, right? Because things change all the time, and it really is okay. And some people said, hey, I want to try working up at 4 a.m. and getting it done. And if it works for you, try it. Because I think for me, I felt so great when I first got a lot of things done. And you know what? It didn't start. It started with me waking up at 5 a.m. one time. And I was like, wow, I got so much done. But I was like, I'm too tired. I can't do it for the rest of the week. But maybe I'll try it once a week. And so then I did it once every 2 weeks. Not at all, then again. But I did notice that, okay, I was tired either way. That didn't change. But how I felt, which was more at peace, which for me was a lot more patience, that was different. And so try it for your time management. Try different things. If you can't schedule all your calls or meetings or emails on one day or at a specific block, or try different things. Try absolutely different things. And find what was best for you. And it's okay if something doesn't work, right? Like, it really is okay. Let's just try something that does, because what's important is your happiness, your time. I was also thinking about how, I think it's interesting how, like, bodybuilders, they have a really creative way of sneaking most protein in likely the most delicious kind of a snack. They almost taste like candy bars. So I was thinking how, like, bodybuilders and mothers should start their own little community, because I think we can learn how to take most protein and add it to like a chocolate bar or a pancake or whatever. I saw some bodybuilders are now doing protein ice cream. So you take protein-based chocolate milk, pour it in an ice cream maker, freeze it, blend it, you have protein ice cream with like 42 grams of protein. So it's like double the pack of protein you might even need for a kid. But if your kid eats a cup of this ice cream, which is essentially just chocolate milk, they've got all the protein in for the day, right? Like, what a hack for when you're just like, I just gotta make sure you're getting enough protein, right? If you're going through those stages, picky eaters, or it's like, hey, we're just having nuggets all day, we're just having pasta all day. Sometimes I'm like, hey, if your kid ate, you're in a good boat. If things are at peace, you're in a good boat. With food, I don't think we should pressure on anything, but with food especially, like we can't force anyone to do bodily functions. Like you can't force someone to pee or poop. You can't force someone to chew this down and swallow it. And so those things that were so out of control, I think is best to approach with patience and kindness, where it's like, hey, on your plate are some things you really love. Eat them up. I also added this other thing in case you want to try it. So it's like, hey, you have your preferred foods. Here's a new thing to try. I always try to voice the phrase, oh, I love trying new things. I love trying new things, just to encourage that verbal routine in my, I love trying new things. Oh, really? Let's try it. I love trying new things over and over again. And so it becomes where, hey, okay, let's try new things, because you either know or you don't, right? My example, I always say, isn't it so great we tried ice cream? Because we knew how great it was and how much we loved it. But it's important to, hey, we keep trying and trying, because what if there's another something so great that we haven't even had yet? Wouldn't that be so fun to try? Oh, and another thing within the bodybuilder, well, not bodybuilders, but like a workout thing, I was thinking more for goals. Like if you're doing a workout thing and you have a goal like, hey, I really want to do 100 push-ups by the end of the year, right? You wouldn't just start doing 100 push-ups day one. Then that wouldn't be your goal. But what you probably would do is do 10, right? Maybe tomorrow, 11. Day after that, 12. Day after that, 13. Day after that, maybe 10 again. Rough day, that's okay. Hey, next day, 15. Now you're up to 15 push-ups, right? You're still not 100. That's a far, far way to go. But now you're at 15, right? And so it's important to think of like, hey, yes, I have a goal, but I'm not going to jump over it. Like it wouldn't be a goal. The reason it's a goal is because you have to reach it, and to reach it, you got to take these little steps. You got to do one push-up at a time, one push-up at a time. Just because for me personally, I set a goal, and then if I don't achieve it right away, I kind of devalue myself, which isn't correct. I think from childhood I learned to value my worth and productivity, which I'm learning to unlearn, right? And but as I'm working through it, I'm now learning, hey, it's so important to set a goal, but it's important to be gentle and kind with yourself, because you're only taking little steps, right? If you got to get to the second floor, you're not going to fly up there. You got to take the staircase. You got to do one step at a time. And those little steps are important. And you know what? With the staircase example, it's like each step looks the same, right? Each step is going to look exactly the same until you actually get there. And I haven't thought about that till now, but it's like, gosh, getting to that goal, some days do just feel the same. So you feel like you're not going anywhere. Because if you just look down, right, you're looking at the stairs, you're just going to see the same stairs. You're going to see the same carpet. The view isn't going to change. Oh, wow. I'm just like having a moment, right? So it's like you have to look up. We got to like raise up. We got to look up and kind of see where you're going. So you know what's ahead. You know what you're climbing towards. Oh, wow, I really love that. What about the stairs just look the same, right? It's like, I have carpet stairs, so it's like carpet, carpet, carpet. So interesting. I'm also working on a really, so it's like, I guess similar to this, but like a goal-oriented episode for the kiddos. And it's going to be a fun frog sensory activity where we're just going to do like chia seeds, water, make it green. Just it's like slimy, fun. Kids love sensory activities. If you ever need like time, sensory activities are so, kids love playing and stuff. Like if they should be pouring and mixing, and the dirtiness gets a little wonky. So what we often did was, if you get like those $5 Walmart pools, like for your pets, you can set up the activity in there and keep it under wraps. We've also done a giant waterproof picnic blanket. So it's like, hey, let's play in the middle, everything else gets collected, or in the bath, right? To do pouring, I think every day we do a bath as an activity, not even as like a clean, it's like, hey, let's play. We do the mermaid play, we do the rest, pouring, just cups, whatever. Anyways, so sensory activities. But I want to do this frog one, right? Where we're kind of like, hey, there's these frogs. they're jumping. I wanted to go through about counting in order, right? So it's like 1, 2, 3 versus first, second, third, who's first, who's last, just to make sure we have all the orders, numbering, all of that in. And then I wanted to do where the frogs try to reach the other side, right? And so maybe craft sticks as little logs. And let's say one frog has a goal and needs to get to the other side. Maybe something fun is on the other side, right? But the other frog doesn't have a goal. And so we watch each frog can jump at a time, right? Maybe that's it. And we watch the frog with a goal gets there, because if you can see the other side, you're going to take the shortest, most possible way to get there. Whereas the frog who doesn't have a goal will probably be hopping around on different logs, just having a good time. And maybe the conversation is, hey, both are good. Because it's so important to have a goal to kind of know where you're going. And there's also other times where it's important to explore and learn and try new things so you can develop a goal of where you want to go. But kind of seeing that with the frogs, I think is going to be super fun. Plus playing in the chia seed is just so fun for kids. They would play with that for so long. I think that's the rest of my stuff. I had one more thing I'm going to do today that I wanted to share. We're going to do this really fun zipline activity. We have the snowstorm, so I'm doing lots of indoor activities because it's just cold outside. But you can do a fun zipline if you just take a string right from one side of the room to the other side of the room. And so first you take a toy. We're going to do cotton, put rubber bands on him, attach it to this, and then thread it through before you attach it to the wall. And then your kid can run it up and like make him slide down. So it's like a little toy zip line. You can also do it with Legos where you snap the Legos around it. But I'm excited because I think that's going to be a fun activity. And maybe we'll play like, hey, we're at a theme park and you can ride the zip line, maybe put few different strings and kind of slide them up and down. Or you know what, maybe attaching a little basket so then different toys can ride on the zip line. But if you have, cardboard tube, some rope, a toy, I think if you're stuck in the house as well, that would be a fun activity for the day. All right, that's it. I'm gonna go hang with my cuties. I hope you have a very good day, and let me know your thoughts about the time management. Where you are, where do you feel you're at, right? Because maybe even in the comments we can all figure out like what's kind of working, what's kind of not. What have you tried? Because I also want to learn new ways, right? What's working for you? What isn't working for you? Where do you feel? I'd love to hear your thoughts about the maker and the manager analysis of like the work situation. Because for me, I was like, oh, wait, this is, it got a lot of my gears going where it's like, oh, wait, this makes a lot of sense in a certain, way. All right. I hope you have an absolutely good day, and, I'll see you tomorrow.